Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. You may be seated. I'm seeing people that I saw during the day. I don't recognize them anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, what an amazing day it has been. And I know that this evening is going to be equally beautiful. My name is Professor Puleng Sekgalo, and I'm going to be your program director for tonight. I'm not alone. I am accompanied by my colleagues who are going to be assisting us with sign language interpretation. We have Ms. Eugidia Jose, who is accompanied by Ms. Eula Downstone. Look forward to serving you tonight, the three of us. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said, it has been an amazing day. We are commemorating 70 years since 1956, a moment of reflection, a moment of giving thanks, and a moment of asking ourselves, how far have we come, and how do we move forward as a people? Please allow me to start by acknowledging our Principal and Vice Chancellor, Professor Puleng Linka Bula, and our keynote for tonight, Advocate Euphodia Lisa Tsadzi. I would also like to acknowledge our SAWID colleagues, leadership joining us tonight, Unisa Women's Forum, all of you distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, once again, good evening. Before we start with our proceedings for tonight, I would like to invite Dr. Genevieve James, who is the Deputy Director, Community Engagement here at Unisa, to usher us into this evening with a brief meditation. Dr. James.
Good evening. A special greeting to our leadership. We are really, really gifted and blessed to have you all with us today. Friends, you know, prophets these days are all the rage. By that, I'm not referring to PROFITS. I'm referring to the prophetic. Did you know that the word prophet is actually trending on TikTok? There's all sorts of prophets these days, some of them self-appointed, and these prophets are really grabbing the imagination of communities all over the world. But you know, the long-standing actual prophetic traditions that have emerged from ancient cultures and ancient sacred texts showed us a different pattern of being prophetic. Firstly, we saw that the prophet was called but generally resisted the call, saying, "I'm too young," or "Don't send me, I can't speak well." Secondly, the prophets of old critiqued power. They spoke to leaders and the wealthy. They addressed injustice and the exploitation of the poor. They also called people back to the original values of justice, mercy, and care. And these prophetic traditions we see in the Rig Vedas, we see them in the Greek oracles, we see them in Islam, in Judaism, in Christianity, and we also see it across the wisdom of the ancestral seers in many African traditions. So, the pattern has been consistent. The prophet is called to speak to a community that generally does not want to listen. Today, I'm going to be introducing you to one of my favorite prophets. He's not hanging around these days. He's not one of the prophets that are, turning dust into gold or doom into gloom, or a prophet that can make you taller. But this was a prophet in an ancient text in the Old Testament, and his name is Jeremiah. So I would like you to introduce to you my favorite prophet. Jeremiah was known as the weeping prophet. He was weeping because he carried the burden of the distress of his city. The pain, the brokenness, the injustice of his city really burdened Jeremiah, and he was moved with compassion for the city. Jeremiah was a prophet who lived in a time where there was great social, political, and spiritual turmoil. There was great economic threats. In fact, the people were divided. There was a threat of national collapse. All of this was happening in Jeremiah's time. Jeremiah did not go out there to pillage from the weak and the poor and take the last few cents. He was burdened with the state of the nation and the city. Jeremiah saw clearly and unmistakably that this is a life and death moment. And so Jeremiah began to address what he saw in society. There were many false prophets lying to the people of the city. These false prophets were talking about peace and favor and prosperity when all was going down the tubes into an abyss, into a dystopian state. Jeremiah said, these prophets dress the wounds of the people as though the wounds were not serious. Peace, peace, they say, but there is no peace. Favor, God will prosper you, they say, but there is no justice. There is no shared growth. There is no shared progress. Everyone, great and small, tries to make money dishonestly, Jeremiah said. Even the prophets and the priests cheat the people. They act as though the people's wounds were only scratches. All is well, they said, but all was not well. And so, amidst this, Jeremiah had a divine message. Stand at the crossroads and look. Ask for the tried and tested parts, the good parts. Ask where the good way is. And then, when you have found this way, walk in it, and you will find rest for your souls. But the people said, we will not walk in it. The first thing Jeremiah says in chapter 6, verse 16 is stand. When you're at the crossroads, when life seems complicated and confusing and descending on you at such a rate, stop at the crossroads. Otherwise, you risk taking the wrong path. Stop stop moving at a pace where you may miss the critical road that you should be taking. Halt all unnecessary frantic actions. Take a moment to pause. Before life overtakes you, stand. Look as you stop. Don't look as you stop, close your eyes, but open up your eyes and look. What are you seeing in the nation today? What are you seeing in communities and in our cities? What are you seeing in the sectors of government and in the halls, the city halls, and in all the spaces and places where we live and breathe and have our being? Look. Are you seeing that women make up the large portion of the population that have unequal access to the life of the economy? Look, are you seeing that despite years and years of advancement and policy, women continue to suffer legal, economic, professional, social, and academic constraints? Look, are you continually seeing that our world has become a very unsafe place for women and we are begging the world to stop killing us? Look, as you see that women have to put up to legacies of division and divide that continue generation after generation after generation. Look, open up your eyes, women and men of today. Look with the high intention to see. As you drive through your communities, are you seeing that shebeens and taverns are the only form of business in that community? Are you looking at the number of women that are being lied and tricked and brought into slave labor and the sex trade against their will? Look at the women and the children that are being drawn in to the drug industry, those that are victims of violence, and those mothers that continue to bury their sons even before they reach the age of 21. Are you looking with high intention to see, or are you relying on the statistician to tell us what is going on in our world? Are you relying on the academic article to tell you what's going on in your world? Look through the main streets of your communities. Is there business that is life-affirming or life-denying in our communities? Open up your eyes and look with the high intention to see. Thereafter, as you have looked and surveyed and seen and borne witness, ask. Ask for the tried and tested parts. Ask, why is it that women in our nation, those that are in Shwetla at the banks of the Yukske River, have no access to sanitation and all of the public utilities that women need? At night, in the midnight hour, when they need to go to the toilet, it is fear and threats because you have to use a communal toilet that is being used by thousands others. Ask why. Why is it that women are saying that being a woman in Africa is already having one foot in the grave? Ask why is this under our watch? Ask why is it that women face discrimination as a result of inequality? The steps of the ladder are removed when we want to scale the heights. Ask why is it that there is generational poverty, generational insecurity, food insecurity, a poverty that is so ingrained that it is grandfather and grandmother were poor, great-grandchild is also in poverty, a stubborn poverty. Ask why is it that even today, women are considered as mere objects, being bought and sold to the highest bidders. Ask why is it that when a woman is strong, society has all sorts of names for her. Woman, it seems like society prefers us to be much more gentle than we can possibly be. We are despised the moment we have a thought of our own or the moment we show some strength. Why? Why is it, women, that there is a pay gap for women? A 27% pay gap between men and women. So stand, look, and ask. Ask. Why is it that Mammon has become our shepherd, and as a result, we lack everything? Mammon leads us into dangerous places. He leads us to run great risks. He depletes our soul. He leads us into dangerous sweatshops for his own gain. Even though I must climb high hills to see Mammon and all his commodities, I am scared to death, for I will never be free from him. His rod and his staff harshly disciplines me. They leave me vexed and frightened. The table on offer is cheap, bad-tasting food I must eat on the run. My head is exposed to the dangers of the big cranes and the bulldozers. My cup runs dry with no time to drink. Surely greed and cruelty will chase me down till I die in the midst of sweat and exhaustion. Ask why is this the spirit of the age? Ask then, men and women, what is the good way and where is the good way? Where do we find the path of wisdom? What are the characteristics of a good community? A community where there is justice and life and beauty. Ask for the tried and tested paths. Where is the path of life? Abandon the path of death. Ask, where is the path of justice? And choose you this day to walk in the path of justice as opposed to injustice. Ask, where is the path of truth and light? Do not leave the asking to others, and do not leave the thinking to others. Do not leave the discerning to others. It is our time to ask. Long before See, Judge, Act, the liberation education structure of viewing the world and analyzing the world, there was Jeremiah. And he said, stand at the crossroads and look. Ask for the right paths, the tried and tested paths, and walk in it, and you will find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk in it. The right path, the good way, is the harder way. It's the exhausting way. It's the way of blood, sweat, and tears. But we must still continue to seek out the good path. Seek out the good path across all sectors of society. Seek out the good path into government, business, civil society, in higher education. We must continue to seek out the good path. Remember, we must continue to ask, what would make healthy and beautiful and livable and sustainable communities? Ask, how do we depart from a dystopian, depressing scenario to a life-affirming community? And once you have found the way, please walk in it, and you will find rest for your souls. What will you say today? If you stop, look, analyze your life, your profession, your practice and presence in the world, what are you seeing? As you analyze and discern what you are witnessing, are you asking for the right path? The path that we can bless the 370,000 students of Unisa, the path that we can continue to be a blessing to the over 1 million alumni that are around the world, the path where we can be a blessing to the provinces of South Africa and the nations of the African continent. We must continue to ask. And when we have found that good way, please let us do everything to help each other to walk in it. I thank you.
Sure. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that we have all heard, we have all been challenged, and as we walk out of here, I'm sure we will look differently. As we stop at the different intersections, we will not just stop, but we will reflect and we will look and we will think about our roles and our positions. Thank you so much, Dr. James. Let us please give her another round of applause. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we gather not only to celebrate the courage and resilience of South African women, but also to reflect on the historic commitments that have shaped our democracy and our society. Women have always stood at the forefront of struggle and transformation. From the 1956 march, even before, to the union buildings, to the countless acts of leadership in communities across our nation, And therefore, tonight's theme, ladies and gentlemen, translating historic commitments into resilient institutions and inclusive societies, reminds us that commemoration must be more than memory. We should not just remember, it must be action as well. The promises made in our history of equality, of dignity, of justice, as has been shared just now, must live on in our institutions, in these institutions that we build and the societies that we nurture. I just want to quickly quote from Feroza Adam, whom we also celebrate and remember tonight. And it resonates with the engagements we've been having also for the whole day. And this is what she said, I quote, "After having struggled together with their men for liberation, women comrades found their position had not changed. We need to assert our position as women more strongly now than ever before. And we can only do that as one unified, loud voice." I believe this resonates today as it did when she uttered these words. And now, ladies and gentlemen, to welcome us officially tonight, I would like to invite our Vice Principal for ICT, our CIO, Ms. Matabo Nakene Mgingli, to come and open for us and welcome us. And she will do this alongside our Vice Principal. Let us welcome both our Principal and Vice Chancellor, Professor Puleng Lenkabula. She will be accompanied by Me Nakene Mgingli.
Sanbonan, Dumelang, Molweni, Riperile, Lachani, Khotsong. I want to extend my gratitude for the opportunity to welcome you to the University of South Africa as we commemorate the 70 years of pathfinding women who fought for our liberation. I am not as well as I would like. I therefore requested, I am trying to become well. They say what you say sometimes. Yes, I'm trying to be well, but I think even in trying to be well, I just want to share 3 messages. One, we're truly gratified that the University of South Africa has a women's forum that is dedicated and committed to working on research, on science, on advocacy, but also on relationships with our society to ensure that we carry the baton and we carry the ideas, the dreams, the vision of the women who over the years have agitated for the emancipation of our country. The second message that I'd like to say, I really want to draw from Dr. James, that the University of South Africa, as we affirm the imperative for justice, we are attentive to Bosadi, feminism, and womanism as the rallying theories, practice, and praxis to ensure that women are not marginalized, but women's voices, women's sciences, women's decisions, and women's agency become the anchor point and the catalytic point for changing our university, but also for inspiring girls and women anywhere in the world to taking responsibility of being the agents of change in our university and in our country and in the world. And therefore, we invite you for that partnership. The third aspect that I want to really reaffirm is that as we celebrate the Women's Month and the Women's Day, it's an invitation for us to constantly do what Dr. James has asked us, to ask, are we leading with purpose? Is this changing the lives of society for the better? How can we improve? Where are the sources of inspiration, the sources of hope? Because the questions that we deal with are complex. Gender-based violence and femicide, it's not an easy question. It's a difficult question. The marginalization of women, even as they are talented, from leadership or even from economic opportunity, is a complex matter. The devaluation of women's work and not it being seen as part of the contribution of the flourishing of our economies and of women is a cause for concern, and it requires researchers, scientists, women, and those in partnership with us to be anchor points in our partnership. And finally, colleagues, we cannot succeed as a society if we don't hold our boys, our uncles, our fathers, our partners, our spouses, our brothers and male academics, scientists, leaders at homes, to see themselves as partners in eradicating poverty, inequality, gender-based violence, and femicide. These questions are not women's questions alone. They require men to stand up and to speak out. Right now in our country, we have allowed our country to be used as a scapegoat for xenophobic attacks against people from other countries only for political expediency. We've shied away from speaking truth to power, to stating that whenever local elections are to happen, whenever national elections are to happen, some take advantage of the woundedness of our country and abuse society. We must speak out. We must never be afraid, because knowledge and universities don't exist for themselves. They exist to change society for the better. And when we women are also in the leadership, we must not be shy to speak about the systemic and structural injustices that happen. We must not allow men who are violent to represent us or to be the vessels of the ideation of our society. We must speak out when trafficking of women and young girls takes place, even within churches or sacred spaces. And we must, through our sciences, our academic work, our research, our laboratories, our classrooms, our textbooks, but also our sciences and technologies, ensure that we respond and give support to the grand questions of our societies. I want to thank our colleagues who are here to advance universal access for people with disabilities, to ensure that we remain true to the commitment of inclusivity. I've requested Menakene, because in leadership, we're not alone. We are a collective. And therefore, Ms. Nakene, the CIO of the university, the woman, they say, don't look at the height. There's so much dynamites, come in her package. This is the woman who in our university helps us to take care of 12 million assessments per annum. Every year, the assessments at Unisa are 12 million. And the platform that enables us to teach and support through technology-aided system is led by this profound woman, Me Nakene. Welcome.
Program Director, Professor Puleng Sekgalo, the Chief Albert Luthuli Research Chair, Professor Puleng Lenkabula, the Principal and Vice Chancellor of the University of South Africa, our keynote speaker, Advocate Euphodia Lisa Tsatsi, Senior Counsel and a High Court Judge and author, members of the University Executive Management and Extended Management, Professor K.R. Mbata, Chairperson of the Unisa Women's Forum, members of the South African Women in Dialogue, and members of the Diplomatic Corps in attendance, Ms. T. Maluleke, the Executive Director of World Women Leading Change Africa, and retired Major General Z. Maso, distinguished program participants, Dr. Genevieve James, Professor S. M. Matlabe, Dr. N. J. Malele, Mrs. M. Nyambe, Dr. V. Mlomondlovu, Dr. G. Mushweu, Advocate M. Lukamani, Lukamai, okay, it's been a long day. Apologies, Advocate. Let me try that again. Advocate M. Lukaimani. Not too long a day here. Professor Farsani, our sign language interpreters, Mrs. Eugenia Jose and Ms. Eula Duston, members of the business community, members of the University of South Africa, representatives from other institutions of higher learning, friends of the university from various organizations, and all our distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I welcome you, sons and daughters of Africa, to the University of South Africa, the university that carries the name of our country, the university of the land, the university of leaders. Please join me as we gather this evening to commemorate the 70th anniversary of the Women's March on the 9th of August, 1956. The year 2026 is a very significant year of the historic march of our mothers, our grandmothers, our aunts, and our grand aunts. They marched to the Union buildings in August 1956 to protest the past laws being enforced on women. One of the remaining leaders of the Women's March is Ms. Sophie de Bruyn, who Unisa has honored by presenting her with the Outstanding Public Servant Award at the prestigious Calabash Awards held on 18 November 2023. The Chancellor's Calabash Award recognizes her story, or his story, makers and monumental societal leaders. We have also honored several high-profile women, including Chief Justice Mandisa Maya, Dr. Naledi Pandor, Mama Winnie Madikizela Mandela, Me Miriam Makeba, and Me Esther Mahlangu, amongst others. This year, 2026, also marks the 72nd anniversary of the 1954 Women's Charter, which was adopted on 17 April 1954 at the inaugural conference of the Federation of South African Women, FEDSAW, in Johannesburg. The Women's Charter was a landmark document in South African history. It serves as a human rights, it serves as a cornerstone for gender equality and human rights in the country as it precedes the Women's March by 2 years. Last week, the 31st of July, was African Women's Day, marking the 64th anniversary of the establishment of the Pan-African Women's Organization, PAWO, which was formed on 31 July 1962, a full year before the establishment of the then Organization of African Unity in 1963, which has since been succeeded by the African Union in 2001. This, colleagues, is testament to women's agency. The year 2026 is also significant in that it marks 50 years of the June 1976 riots that started in Soweto, my hometown, and spread to the rest of the country. Those protests had a profound impact on our struggle for liberation. Both young women and men participated in those protests. We recall the bravery of Miss Antoinette Peterson Sithole, the sister of Hector Peterson, who bravely ran alongside her fatally injured brother, Hector Peterson, as he was carried by Unisa Makhubu on that fateful day. We are yet to know Unisa Makhubu's fate. The youth protests led to significant changes in international law. For example, the entry into force on 18 July 1976 of the International Convention on the Suppression and Punishment of the Crime of Apartheid, an international treaty that declares apartheid a crime against humanity. That convention states that systematic racial oppression violates international law. Gender equality is one of the cornerstones of our Constitution, which places the right to equality at the heart of the Bill of Rights. The Commission on Gender Equality and the Equality Court are some of our conditional institutions that have been established to ensure that women enjoy equal protection of the law, are treated with dignity and respect, and enjoy all the rights and freedoms contained in the Constitution. The year 2026 marks 30 years since the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa Act 108 of 1996 was adopted. This represented a watershed moment when we made a decisive break from racial, gender, and class discrimination to fully embrace the sacrosanct equality and human dignity for all South Africans. While we have made many gains regarding gender equality and gender equity in South Africa, there remains deep challenges that our society still needs to tackle. One of our catalytic niche areas is on gender. It is feminist, womanist, Busadi theorizations. We therefore welcome today's program as part of that specific catalytic niche area. Annually, in August, the Feroza Adam Memorial Lecture is held by Unisa's Women's Forum, and in 2026, we found it fit to collaborate with our colleagues by combining it with the 70th commemoration of the 1956 Women's March. Feroza Adam, who was born on 16 August 1961, was a student political activist. She was involved in community organizations as well as youth structures of the Transvaal Indian Congress. She was later elected as a member of the executive committee of the Azanian Students Organization and served as a member of the Federation of Transvaal Women, FEDTRO, which became one of the United Democratic Front affiliates. And she was also, in that role, a national coordinator of the UDF. Between 1992 and 1993, Feroza Adam served as campaigns and publicity secretary for the ANC Women's League in the PWV area as an executive. Under the first democratic government, Adam diligently and impactfully served as a member of parliament for the ANC until her very untimely passing on 9 August 1994. It was National Women's Day, and she died as a result of a motor vehicle accident. The principal and vice chancellor of this university and many other women leaders, we are proud to lead in Unisa, in a university where women have the space to lead. This is demonstrated by the profile of our speakers today, 2 of whom are alumni of Unisa. Advocate Euphodia Tsipa graduated with Tsazi. Apologies, there's a typo on the document. Apologies, advocate. Advocate Euphodia Tsazi graduated with an LLB from Unisa, while Dr. Vuyo Mlomo Ndlovu earned her PhD from Unisa. All our 3 speakers tonight are women who have led transformation in their respective careers and made a significant contribution to our constitutional democracy. In so doing, they have, in line with our theme for today, contributed to translating historic commitments into resilient institutions and inclusive societies. Women show resilience through community support, emotional intelligence, and cognitive flexibility. They adapt to difficult life events by leaning on shared networks, managing stress, and using clear problem-solving strategies. Feroza Adam was one such resilient woman who leaned on community support and developed networks to cope with stress of being a young political activist. The keynote speaker, Advocate Euphodia Liza Tsazi. My apologies. I think today has been a long day, Prof. is an example of a woman building an excellent career, beginning from the bottom all the way to the top. In 1996, she was appointed by the law school or the law faculty at Unisa as a legal research assistant. Among others, her duties were to assist law professors with their research, assist the undergraduate students, and liaise between lecturers and undergraduate students at Unisa. She has since grown to become a transformative institution builder, amongst others, being appointed as the first ever court services manager in South Africa in 2002, managing more than 13 courts in the Johannesburg region with a staff of 700 people. Advocate Tsazi, senior counsel, acted as a judge of the High Court in various divisions in our country. She served as a member of both the Johannesburg and Polokwane Society of Advocates Bar Councils, respectively, and an executive member of Advocates for Transformation in the Johannesburg branch. She was appointed Secretary General and subsequently as chairperson of Advocates for Transformation between 2013 and 2015 at the Johannesburg Society of Advocates. Advocate Stazis SC is the former deputy chairperson of the Limpopo Provincial Legal Practice Council. Our discussant, Dr. Kgomolume Moshweu, affectionately known as Dr. G, is a South African legal leader and former Chief Executive Officer of the South African Judicial Education Institute. The tribute by the Deputy Minister of Justice, Mr. Andries Nel, on the occasion of her departure from Sajay, described her thus. Dr. Kgomolume Moshweu is a remarkable leader, a visionary, and a pioneer in judicial education. Nell went on to describe her journey as the CEO of Sajay as one of unwavering dedication to justice, to the advancements of judicial education, and to the transformation of the bench and our broader justice system. Dr. G, I look forward to hearing your input into this topic of translating historic commitments into resilient institutions and inclusive societies. Another one of our discussants, Dr. Vuyo Mlomo Ndlovu, the retired Deputy Commissioner and former Chief Director of Remand Operations Management at the Department of Correctional Services. She holds a Doctor of Philosophy in Criminal Justice and a master's degree in Public Administration, also from Unisa. She began her career as a clinical psychologist at Mamelodi Day Hospital before moving into correctional psychological services as the head psychologist and provincial coordinator in Gauteng. At the Department of Correctional Services, she served in multiple senior roles, including being Deputy Director for Offending Behavior Assessment, Director for Remand Policy Analysis, and Deputy Commissioner for Remand Operations Management. Dr. Mlomo Ndlovu, I also look forward to hearing your input. What will your input be into this topic, translating historic commitments into resilient institutions and inclusive societies. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, our society is at a stage where we need to transform the culture of corruption to re-establish the culture of ethical leadership, integrity, and accountability for which our struggle stalwarts fought for. As we do the latter, we will ensure that our constitutional democracy continues to thrive. I would like to take this moment, as I conclude this short presentation, to say to all the Feroza Adam Lecture awardees, a hearty congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, once more, a very warm welcome to Unisa, this engaged university where we shape intellectual futures in the service of humanity. Enjoy your evening. Thank you.
Ish. Otherwise, I was going to be. So, thank you. Thank you so much, Madam Principal and Vice Chancellor, for your brief but very powerful remarks. And thank you so much, Ms. Nakene Mgingqi, for your welcoming remarks, for setting the tone beautifully, and for already whetting our appetites by giving us a brief overview of the speakers that we will be listening to in just a moment. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce Professor Sizakele Matlabe, who is the Deputy Chairperson of the Unisa Women's Forum, and she will come forward to assist us in introducing our guest speaker for tonight. Prof. Matlabe, let's please give her a round of applause.
Dumelang bomme. Ake nililizele hawu nigqokela kahle kangaka. Thank you. Madam Vice Chancellor, can I break protocol with your permission? I just want to acknowledge Professor LDR Tsatsi before I introduce our keynote speaker. We have Ndate Tsatsi accompanying his spouse. Can we clap hands for him? Thank you. My job is to introduce our keynote speaker. Our keynote speaker is Advocate Liza Tsatsi, who is a senior counsel, and it is the president of the country conferred that position in 2018. She has served for 2 decades in the legal bar. She was a social worker before she embarked with her legal career. She has worked in acting positions, acting judge in the High Court in several divisions, and she has held several leadership positions within the Johannesburg and Limpopo Societies of Advocates. She has the following qualifications: LLB, LLM, and a Bachelor of Business Administration from Unisa, the University of the Land. She also went abroad to study in Canada to broaden her internal legal perspective, where she studied at the University of Ottawa and obtained her Canadian legal qualifications. She is an author of a book titled Never Give Up on Success, and she has addressed diverse audiences on a wide range of legal and social issues, particularly focusing on women, children, men, families, and vulnerable communities. Beyond her legal career, she's also doing community work where she's supporting the most vulnerable members of our society. She is committed to justice, equality, and community service. Can we please clap hands for May Advocate Tsatsi? Thank you.
The struggle for women's equality did not end in 1956. It simply changed. When the women gathered at the Union buildings on 9 August 1956, they made a solemn declaration, open quotes. We shall not rest until we have won for our children their fundamental rights of freedom, justice, and security. Honoring the legacy of the women of 1956 and Feroza Adam while building a South Africa free from violence and inequality. Open quotes. What counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference we have made to the lives of others. That's our President Nelson Mandela. Today we have gathered not only to remember a life, but to reflect on a legacy, one that continues to shape our thinking, inspire our actions, and challenge us to leave our own mark of society. We gather at a particular significant moment in our nation's calendar today. We are 3 days or so away from the anniversary of Feroza Adam's untimely passing, and just 4 days before we commemorate the historic Women's March of 9 August 1956. This convergence of anniversaries is both poignant and symbolic. It reminds us that August is more than a month of remembrance. It is a month of courage, resilience, and the enduring pursuit of justice and equality. As we honor the life and legacy of Feroza Adam, we do so during a week that also celebrates the extraordinary women whose bravery and determination helped save the course of South African history. It is therefore fitting that we pause not only to remember a remarkable life, but also to reflect on the values of dignity, equality, and justice that continue to inspire our collective journey. The VC is not here. VC, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. I'm not going to repeat because Vice Principal Ngiki has already mentioned the names. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Professor Matlabe, thank you very much for that kind introduction. I'm truly humbled. When I received the invitation to deliver a Feroza Adam Memorial Lecture, I felt deeply honored. Then I saw the theme and I realized this was not going to be a 5-minute conversation over a cup of tea. It is both a privilege and a humbling honor to have been invited to deliver the 2026 Feroza Adam Memorial Lecture as we commemorate the 70th anniversary of one of the defining moments in our nation's history, the Women's March of 9 August 1956. I thank University of South Africa for this invitation, for bringing us together to honor two enduring legacies: the courage of the women who marched to the Union buildings demanding justice, and the life of Feroza Adam, whose commitment to democracy and the empowerment of women continued that struggle in a later generation. As we reflect on the theme, translating historic commitments into resilient institutions and inclusive societies, we should acknowledge how far South Africa has come since the advent of democracy in 1994. Women who were once largely excluded from positions of leadership and decision-making are today represented in Parliament in unprecedented numbers and serve with distinction as judges, vice-chancellors, doctors, lawyers, academics, entrepreneurs, and leaders across the public and private sectors. These achievements testify to the progress made in translating our constitutional commitment to equality into institutional transformation. The statistics, ladies and gentlemen, bear testimony to this remarkable transformation, although they also remind us that the journey towards full equality is not yet complete. Yet, they also challenge us to ask whether these gains have translated into truly inclusive and safe society for all women. The answer, regrettably, is not always in the affirmative. This evening is not simply about remembering history. It is about asking what history expects of all of us here. The question before us tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is simple but profound. Have we fulfilled that promise? Before we answer that question, let us pause to remember the remarkable woman in whose honor this memorial lecture is held. I had prepared her background, but since Madam Vice Principal had already given you her background, I won't repeat it. Although her public life was tragically cut short when she died in a motor vehicle accident on National Women's Day, her commitment to justice, equality, and public service remains an inspiration. Whenever I reflect on the untimely passing of someone whose life held such promise and who passed at such a young age, I'm reminded of the words of the prophet Isaiah. And I quote the Bible, Isaiah 57, 1-2, open brackets, open quotes. The righteous perish, and no one takes it to heart. The righteous are taken away to be spared from evil, close quotes. But God wants to protect them and allow them to rest in peace. And I want to say this about Feroza Adam. The godly die young, and the world understand not why. We cannot always understand why some lives end too soon, but we can honor them by ensuring that their work does not end with them. May the memory of Feroza Adam continue to inspire us, and may her young, vibrant, beautiful young soul rest in eternal peace. Ladies and gentlemen, as we commemorate 70 years since the Women's March, we remember more than a protest against past laws. We remember an extraordinary act of courage. The women who marched were not seeking privilege. They were demanding dignity. They were not asking for favors. They were demanding justice. South Africa has indeed traveled a remarkable journey. We have dismantled apartheid. We dismantled the very system that tried to oppress us. We have adopted one of the world's most progressive constitutions. Our Bill of Rights guarantees equality and human dignity. During apartheid, we had very limited role models. Personal experience. Allow me to share personal experience with you about how my own journey unfolded. When I was growing up, the career options visible to many young black girls were limited. The women we look up to were mostly teachers and nurses. Those were our role models, at least in my hometown. When I went to high school in another town, I saw something that inspired me. My horizons began to expand. I saw a woman social worker driving a car and visiting families in need. Coming from a community where poverty was all around me, I thought, that is what I want to do. I want to help people. I want to restore hope where there is suffering. I'm going to fix the world as a social worker. I'm going to deal with poverty, teenage pregnancy, unemployment, alcoholism. That's what I'm going to do as a social worker. And the other thing I thought, I'll be killing two birds with with one stone. I thought, if I'm a social worker, it means I'll have a driver's license, I'll drive. Because, ladies and gentlemen, that time for a woman to drive, it was a big issue. It was a mission. So I said, I'll have a license, I'll drive government car, visit people, and also I'll practice as a social worker. Then one day my life changed completely. I was involved in a children's court matter concerning a young adopted child whom I believed needed protection from an abusive mother. During the proceeding, I was cross-examined by a lawyer. As a social worker, I understood the child's circumstances and wanted desperately to protect this child. But I had not been trained in the law or in giving evidence under cross-examination. I realized that good intentions alone were not enough, because I knew the child had a scratch somewhere. And under cross-examination, the lawyer asked me, was the scratch on the right or on the left? I didn't remember. Was it above the eye or below? Just something simple like that. The court required legal evidence, legal argument, and legal skill. The outcome of that case left a deep impression of me, because that child went back to that abusive mother. I remember thinking to myself, if I truly want to protect vulnerable people, I need more than compassion. I also need the law. That experience became a turning point in my life. I made the decision to study law, not because I had stopped believing in social work, but because I wanted to combine the compassion of social work and the power of law. I wanted to be able to stand in a courtroom and speak confidently for those who could not speak for themselves. Looking back today, I realized that what seemed like a painful setback became one of God's greatest lessons in my life. It redirected my path and prepared me for a career dedicated to justice, especially for the vulnerable. That experience also taught me something else. Every profession has an important role to play. Social workers, teachers, nurses, doctors, police officers, prosecutors, lawyers, judges, each contribute to the protection of human dignity. We are stronger and strongest when we work together. Tonight, as we celebrate women who have excelled in many different fields, let us remember that no profession is too small and no act of service is insignificant. Every woman who uses her gifts to uplift others is helping to build a South Africa for which the women of 1956 marched and for which Feroza Adam dedicated her life. President Thabo Mbeki's administration marked an important period in advancing women's representation in leadership across South Africa. During this time, increasing emphasis was placed on gender equality and the transformation of institutions, including higher institutions. As more women assumed leadership positions as vice-chancellors, they challenged long-standing stereotypes and demonstrated that the highest levels of academic leadership are not the preserve of men. These women have become powerful role models for young girls and aspiring scholars. Their achievements send a clear message that leadership, excellence, and intellectual achievement know no gender. By seeing women lead some of our country's foremost universities, young girls are encouraged to dream bigger, pursue higher education with confidence, and believe that they too can shape the future of our nation. The impact of powerful role models that some of us lacked when we grew up can never be underestimated. Ladies and gentlemen, if we look at role models like Professor Puleng Lenkabula, we know we are being led. These achievements deserve celebration. They were won through sacrifice. For generations, women were told that their place was in the kitchen. Today, I said, a woman's place is wherever her talents, her aspirations, her dreams, her determination take her. There is dignity in caring for one's family, and many women freely choose that role. But no one should presume that this is the only place where women belongs. A woman's place is in the courtroom, dispensing and administering justice. A woman's place is in the boardroom, shaping the economy. In the cockpit of an aeroplane, flying passengers safely across the continents. In parliament, making laws. In the laboratory, advancing science and innovation. In the mine underground, if she chooses. In technology, driving innovation and shaping the digital future. In research laboratories, discovering cures for diseases. In communities, leading social change. In diplomacy, building peace and strengthening relations between nations. On the farm, growing food and helping to feed our nation. In the factory, manufacturing the goods that drive our economy. In the classroom, educating the next generation. In the operating theater, saving lives. In the police service and armed forces, protecting our nation. In business, creating jobs, creating jobs and opportunities. And yes, if she chooses, in her own home. Raising a family with love, dignity, and pride. The point is not where a woman belongs. The point is that she must have the freedom to choose her own path, free from discrimination, violence, and intimidation. Ladies and gentlemen, I think they deserve an applause. I now wish to address one of the most pressing and challenging issues confronting our country. Gender-based violence, femicide, and intimate partner violence is a serious problem in our country. Our Constitution promises equality, but equality on paper must become equality in practice. President Nelson Mandela understood that liberation of a nation is incomplete if half its people remain oppressed. He reminded us, freedom cannot be, open quotes, freedom cannot be achieved unless women have been emancipated from all forms of oppression. Those words challenge us today. We cannot celebrate democracy while women continue to live in fear. We cannot claim victory while gender-based violence, femicide, and intimate partner violence continue to rob women of their dignity, their freedom, and far too often, their lives. Personal experience. Permit me to share a personal memory with you, which has stayed with me throughout my life. As a little girl, probably not older than 6 or 7 years old, I was called to testify in a criminal case in my hometown in the Northwest. I had witnessed a man fleeing through a window after he had raped a woman who lived in our neighborhood. At that age, I did not even know what rape meant. I simply knew that adults were speaking in hushed voices, whispering that something terrible had happened. My parents, like so many parents, were trying to protect my innocence, and I never thought to ask what the word meant. I remember going to court. One memory has remained vivid. When women entering the courtroom, they were expected to cover their heads. As a woman, you could not go to court bareheaded. This was as a sign of respect for the court, while men were under no such obligation. Even as a child, I sensed that different expectations applied to women and men. As I grew older, I came to understand that what I had witnessed was not an isolated tragedy. It was part of a much larger pattern of violence against women that had existed for generations. During apartheid years, ladies and gentlemen, our country was consumed by political conflict. The machinery of the state was overwhelmingly directed towards enforcing apartheid laws and suppressing political resistance. In many township communities, women who experienced violence often found that their suffering did not receive the attention or agency it deserved. Reporting such crimes could be an ordeal, and too many women felt unheard and unsupported. Today, we have a constitutional democracy. We have stronger laws. We have institutions dedicated to protecting women and holding perpetrators accountable. These are important gains that we must never take for granted. Yet, the persistence of gender-based violence and intimate partner violence reminds us that legislation alone cannot transform society. True equality will not be achieved simply because legislation exists. It will be achieved when boys are raised to respect girls as equals, when families reject violence, when communities refuse to remain silent, when workplaces reward women fairly, and when every institution actively challenges discrimination. Ladies and gentlemen, we must teach our sons that true strength is measured not by domination, but by respect. We must teach our boys that girls are their equals in dignity, intelligence, and potential. The struggle that began in 1956 was not only a struggle to change laws, it was a struggle to change society. That work remains our shared responsibility. They were earned through courage. But if we are honest with ourselves, we must also admit that the journey is not yet complete. The women of 1956 dreamed of a South Africa where every woman and every child would enjoy freedom, justice, and security. Can we honestly say that every woman in South Africa enjoys that freedom today? Can we honestly say that every woman feels secure in her own home? Can we honestly say that every girl can walk without fear? The painful answer is no. The women of 1956 challenged legal oppression. Today's generation must challenge social and economic oppression. The women who marched in 1956 confronted unjust laws. Our generation must confront unjust attitudes. They challenge a system of legal discrimination. We must challenge a culture that still tolerates violence, inequality, and the devaluing of women. The struggle has changed its form, but it has not ended. South Africa has some of the world's most progressive laws protecting women, yet we continue to witness the devastating realities of GBV and IPV. This teaches us an important lesson. Courts and laws can regulate behavior and punish offenders, but they cannot on their own transform attitudes and hearts. It cannot create respect. Ladies and gentlemen, the transformation we seek begins not only in Parliament or in the courtroom, but in our hearts, our homes, our schools, our places of worship, and our communities. Gender-based violence and femicide continue to cast a dark shadow over our democracy. Every statistic represents a human being, a daughter, a wife, a mother, a sister, a friend, a colleague, a neighbor, an aunt, a granny, a cousin, or a niece. Behind every number is unimaginable grief, pain, and sorrow. These efforts deserve recognition. Permit me again to share a personal experience with you. As a child growing up under apartheid, I became an observer long before I understood the politics of what I was seeing. One of my earliest memories was that when you enter many black townships, one of the most prominent public buildings as you enter the township was often the municipal beer hall. Men and sometimes women will gather there, sit there the whole day, drinking traditional beer, while children were left to fend for themselves. At the time, I did not understand the significance of what I was seeing. As I grew older, I realized that alcohol abuse came at an enormous cost. Families suffered. Households' incomes were lost. Children were neglected. Violence within homes increased. Communities were weakened. For some reason, these men used to walk with a tiptoeing guide. I don't know, they used to walk like this. And you know, in the township, they used to say, they call them diababeya, diabare, meaning they are tiptoeing all their way to the beer hall. I have recently asked a medical specialist doctor why the traditional beer caused men to walk in that fashion. He explained that this may be the result of peripheral neuropathy, a condition in which damage to the peripheral nerves can cause pain, numbness, muscle weakness, and difficulties with balance and walking. This medical explanation helps us understand that excessive alcohol consumption can have profound consequences not only for the individual but also for families and communities. Looking back, I came to understand that apartheid did not simply control where people could live or work. It also shaped the social conditions in which many black females were forced to live. I also remember visiting white suburbs and noticing something completely different. My childhood impression was that churches and schools often stood as prominent landmarks, reflecting a very different social environment from the one I knew. Yes, we had schools in the townships, but they were not as prominent as they were in the white suburb, and they were few and far between. Whether or not that was always the case, the contrast left a lasting impression on me. Still, today I ask myself, what kind of society do we build when alcohol becomes more visible than opportunity? When children grow up without supervision or hope? When communities are deprived of the institutions that nurture families, learning, and moral values? Ladies and gentlemen, universities have a unique responsibility in this regard. Institutions of higher learning do not merely award degrees, they shape the character of future leaders. Universities must continue to challenge stereotypes, encourage critical thinking, and produce graduates who understand that equality is not a slogan, but a constitutional and moral imperative. Research must not remain on library shelves, it must influence policy. It must strengthen communities and it must change lives. To all women present this evening, young and old, remember what Lilian Ngoyi said, and I quote, open quote, "We have removed our aprons. We are not going back to the kitchen." Never underestimate your own potential. Lead with dignity and integrity. Pursue excellence. Lift other women as you rise. Do not wait for permission to make a difference. History is shaped by ordinary people who choose courage over silence. To all men who are here tonight, young and old, and I say this, you are not spectators in this struggle. You are partners. Use your strength to protect, not to intimidate. Use your voice to challenge sexism, patriarchy, not to excuse it. Become the generation that proves that respect, equality, and compassion are marks of true leadership. This evening is not only about remembering the women of yesterday, it is also about celebrating the women of today. Tonight we honor the recipients of the Unisa Women of the Year Awards. As we applaud your achievements, we do more than recognize individual excellence. We celebrate perseverance, resilience, leadership, and service. Each of you has, in your own way, chosen to make a difference. As you receive your awards this evening, remember that an award is not merely recognition of what you have accomplished. It is also an invitation to continue serving, mentoring, and inspiring others. The late Charlotte Matleke understood this when she said, and I quote, "This work is not for yourselves. Kill that spirit of self and do not live above your people," close quote. Those words are as relevant today as they were more than a century ago. Leadership is measured by the lives we touch, the opportunities we create, the injustices we challenge, and the hope we leave behind. Remember that your greatest legacy will not be the award you receive tonight, but the people whose lives you transform tomorrow. Congratulations to each one of you. We celebrate you, we honor you, and we thank you for helping to build the South Africa for which so many women struggle. At the heart of our liberation struggle was a bold and inclusive vision for South Africa. That vision found expression in the Freedom Charter, whose clause proclaims, "South Africa belongs to all who live in it, black and white." I leave you with the timeless words that have become the anthem of women's courage in our nation. "Watinta abafazi, watinta imbogodo." When you strike a woman, you strike a rock. But tonight, let us add another truth. When you educate a woman, you strengthen a nation. When you empower a woman, you transform a community. When you respect a woman, you honor your common humanity. And when women and men work together in equality, justice, and mutual respect, South Africa moves closer to the dream that inspired the women of 1956. As I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, let us return to the women who stood before the Union buildings 70 years ago. They did not march for themselves alone. They marched for us. And they marched for generations yet unborn. The greatest tribute we can pay to the women of 1976 and to Feroza Adam is not merely to remember them once a year. It is to continue the work they began, to build a South Africa where every woman can live free from violence, where every girl can dream without fear. They have handed us responsibility. May history never say that ours was the generation that inherited freedom but failed to deepen it. May it instead be said that we honored their sacrifice by building a society worthy of their dreams. The petitions that carried by the women of 1956 have long since been delivered, but the mission they carried remains unfinished. That mission now rests with us, ladies and gentlemen. The women of 1956 have handed us the baton. They are no longer asking us to remember them. They are asking us to continue the journey. May future generations say that when the baton reached our hands, we carried it faithfully, wisely together. That is how we honor the women of 1956. That is how we honor the memory of Feroza Adam. That is how we honor our Constitution. And that is how we build a South Africa for which so many sacrificed. The women of 1956 completed their march. Feroza Adam completed her race. Like Oscar Wilde said, be yourself. Everybody else is taken. And I thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to give VC something. La, la. Ladies and gentlemen, as Advocate Tsatsi goes to take her seat, let's please give her another round of applause. I'm sure you'll agree with me that that was a powerful, powerful lecture. How do we translate these historic commitments into our current institutions? How do we build resilient institutions and inclusive societies? And I believe that she did justice to the theme for tonight. So many things stand out as one listens to you. I think you've covered so many themes, and we are left, I'm reminded of what Dr. James was also talking about earlier. Stop and look. Many moons ago, you stopped and you looked and you saw the important work that social workers do. And as a result of that, you became one. And of course, later, again, you stopped and you looked and you saw the injustices and you acted upon it. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's not be in a hurry. Let us stop and look and then act. I'm really moved by your talk. I'm going to ask for your indulgence just for a few minutes because I want to zoom in into Unisa, and for a very important reason. The university a few years ago introduced the 10 catalytic niche areas. These 10 catalytic niche areas were strategically identified and designed to drive research, innovation, and societal impact while strengthening the university's academic and global presence. I want to share a few things with you. I actually shared this at another event, but I see it relevant and apt to repeat here because the moment and this event calls for it. Unisa in March 2026 acquired an airport. It is the first university in the continent to do this. The airport, ladies and gentlemen, is a 20-hectare facility that will serve as a live training ground as we think about innovation, right? For students in aeronautics, in drone technology, and advanced digital systems. So we don't have to go abroad to other countries for training. We will have that right here at home. Just, and for Broncospruit,
just around the corner. And according to the Business Insider, as things stand as a continent, and this is why this is important, this is why Unisa acquiring an airport matters. We are facing a severe worsening shortage of qualified aviation professionals. So Unisa's acquisition of this airport directly addresses the continent's critical aviation skills shortage. Just to give you an idea in terms of numbers, Africa needs over 23,000 new pilots and 24,000 new technicians. And therefore, Unisa's facility aims to provide the hands-on training infrastructure to begin closing this gap at scale. Also, in 2026, we as the university have achieved the second position nationally for our conference proceeding outputs and for article publications, and we achieved this climbing from 6th position, ladies and gentlemen. And the increase of outputs, which were quite considerable, reflects the university's expanding engagement in academic exchange and research dissemination. This achievement demonstrates that Unisa contributes to critical scholarly debates, and we contribute towards sharing new insights and strengthening the influence within the broader research community. This achievement also reflects the depth and quality of Unisans and the research that they produce. Now, as I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, all this progress and accolades became possible under the leadership of our visionary principal and vice chancellor, a pioneer whose footsteps echo possibility. She is a champion of justice, whose leadership, as evidenced in what I've just said, has turned milestones into beautiful melodies. I share this tonight compelled by you, Advocate Tsatsi, and everything that you've shared tonight. I felt it is opportune to pause and honor the woman under whose leadership all this became possible, under whose visionary leadership Unisa rose in the Times Higher Education Impact Rankings and the Shanghai Rankings, with 20 of our academics being ranked in the global 2%. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like us to specifically put our hands together, honor and appreciate our principal and vice chancellor, Professor Puleng Lenkabula. And on that celebratory mode, I would like to invite Mrs. Mututi Nyembe, who is one of our adjunct academic lecturers here at Unisa from the Department of African Languages for Northern Sotho, to come and mesmerize us with her poetry. Let's please give her a round of applause.
Thobela Dimadekwane Realocha. Good evening. Yo, as I have been introduced, I will deliver a poem in Northern Sotho. The topic, the title is Mosadi Ema. Mosadi Ema. Ke kwa nketla ya dikoti marameng. Ke yena wa go kgontšha dilo ba re ga di kgonege. Ke yena wa re emela ka dinao. Ke mosadi. Mosadi ema. Mosadi o eme. Bohlale, bokgoni, le yona tsebo di be di dutse di lla ka gare ga mogale wa mosadi. Di llela gona go iteka gobane maleka ga se makgoni, makgoni ke maboeletša. Ke mosadi. Mosadi ema. Mosadi o eme. O tsene ka gare ga dipolotiki ka sebete le maatla. A duba thankga gare ga banna gore mosadi a theeletšwe. A fretla ka lentšu le bogale gore mosadi a fiwe monyetla wa boetapele. Ke mosadi. Mosadi ema. Mosadi o eme. O lwele gore motho moso a ele hloko. A gapeletša ka maatla gore motho a fiwe kgetho ya kganyogo ya pelo ya gagwe. Gobane mmapelo o ja serati, senyakelwa ga a serati. Ke mosadi. Mosadi ema. Mosadi o eme. Mekgatlo o e hlamile ka kholofelo. A goketša basadi naga ka bophara. A ba kopantšha ka lethabo, lerato le kholofelo. A ba kgothatša gore ba kgotletše mollo o se time. Ke mosadi. Mosadi ema. Mosadi o eme. O ile mogale mme Adam. O ile molete mohlaela thupa. A lwela tšona ditokelo tša rena. A lwela yona tekatekano. A lwela yona tokologo. Le yona thuto. Ke mosadi. Mosadi ema. Mosadi o eme. Re ge o dutše o gopole lebadi la mme Feroza. O tsebe gore o mo o lego gona ke dithito tša mogale wa mosadi. Mosadi ema. Mosadi o eme. Le kgono ga re sa ya kgonyeng. Le kgono ga re sa šila mabele. Re baetapele gare ga ditšhabatšhaba. Dikolong ke mosadi. Maokelong ke mosadi. Le metse e eme ke mosadi. Mosadi o a kgotšwa a eme a gatele. Mosadi o swara thipa ka bogaleng. Ke mosadi. Mosadi ema. Mosadi o eme. A re swaraneng bana ba thari ye ntsho. Re be ngatana e tee. O mosadi. Mosadi ema. Mosadi o eme.
Ratwe mosadi ema. Mosadi o eme. Thank you so much, Mrs. Nyembe. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to shift our gears a little bit as we invite our discussants to the podium. And to lead this discussion, to moderate the next session for us, I would like to invite Dr. Malele, who is the Secretary of the Unisa Women's Forum, to come and take over as I take a break. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please, let's welcome Dr. Malele.
Sadi wemi. Kiemi. Lochani. Dumelang. Program Director, allow me to stand on the existing protocol. Oh, but before I continue, Medzazi, be yourself, because everybody else is taken. I'm not sure if I will be able to sleep tonight. You are saying to us, do not compare yourself to others. Be yourself. Be in your lane. Remain in your lane. Learn from others, but remain yourself. Thank you very much. A round of applause again. Translating historic commitments into resilient institutions and inclusive societies. It means turning important promises, agreements, or pledges made in the past into practical actions that create strong institutions and societies where everyone, I'm emphasizing, everyone is included and everyone can participate equally. Ladies and gentlemen, I am going to call to the podium our lovely discussants. And I need to make this announcement that there will be no question and answers. There will be no Q&A. Well, as the Spirit leads, maybe in Zakzama, but there will be no Q&A. All the potential questions have been sent to our discussants and they are being incorporated in their presentations. I am going to start by calling to the fore Advocate Mubango Lukhaimane. Advocate Lukhaimane is an advocate of the High Court of South Africa. She holds an LLM degree from the University of the Land. Is there anyone who doesn't know the University of the Land? Shame, let's tell them. The very university where you are right now, the University of South Africa. She started her career as a law lecturer then moved into financial services, where she held various positions at leading financial services companies. She then joined the public service in various positions in 2 departments, culminating in her role as South Africa's 5th and longest-serving pension funds adjudicator. She has a passion for community empowerment. A round of applause again. And our second discussant that I would love her to come to the podium is Dr. Mlomo Ndlovu. Dr. Mlomo Ndlovu is a retired deputy commissioner who at the time of her retirement was responsible for remand operations management. With more than 30 years of service in the public sector, she held various professional and leadership roles, including professional nurse, clinical psychologist, director for research and policy analysis, and deputy commissioner. In her senior management positions, she spearheaded improvements in remand detainee management through collaborative partnerships with key stakeholders such as the South African Police Service, National Prosecuting Authority, Department of Social Development, Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, and Legal Aid South Africa. A round of applause again. And the third one is Dr. Homolemo Mushweu. Dr. Homolemo Mushweu is an accomplished criminal justice professional with academic qualifications in law, criminology, and criminal justice, complemented by advanced training in management, financial management, quality management, and human resource management. Throughout her distinguished career, she has held several senior leadership and academic positions, including lecturer in the Department of Criminology at the University of Fort Hare, managing director of one of South Africa's first private corrections companies. She is an honorary professor in the School of Corrections Management, College of Law of the University of the Land. Beloved panelists, I am colorblind, but I'm having 2, what colors are these? Yellow and red. When I show you this, please just try to wrap, and when I show you this, just know that it is a stop. They each have not more than 8 minutes. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to start by listening to Advocate Mubango Lukaimane. Over to you, Advocate. Oh, okay. Isn't it here? Yeah. Okay. All right. We are going to give Dr. Omolemo Mushweu and Dr. Mlomo Ndlovu will be the second, and Advocate Mubango Lukaimane. Over to you. Okay. Yeah. You can speak from. Oh, good. Thanks. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Homolemo Mushweu, over to you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Dumelang. Tokai. Ke Motswana tota. By the way, before I start, I need to mention that my doctorate is also from this university. So all of us are from here. Yes, yes. Thank you very much. As we have been warned that we've got only 8 minutes, so I'll just quickly fly through what I've prepared. I have prepared something on the artificial intelligence for working women, and I'm putting a challenge to the women of Unisa. I would like to start my presentation with an excerpt from the preamble of Women's Charter, just a short one. We, the women of South Africa, wives and mothers, working women, hereby declare our aims of striving for the removal of all laws, regulations, conventions, and customs that discriminate as close quote. This historic commitment must always ring in our minds as working women, especially in higher education institutions. We can make a difference in the higher education ecosystem. Let us not waste it. The struggle of women emancipation goes beyond apartheid. Inequality is still pervasive in how concepts and systems are conceptualized. A case in point is that artificial intelligence algorithms are designed largely by male experts. The language models perpetuate inequality and bias towards women. The evolution of artificial intelligence is at a speed human beings are struggling to cope with. You blink, and the next moment there's a new AI tool. All kinds of platforms are part of our daily lives. I would not go through the platforms because otherwise I will lose my minutes. Artificial intelligence introduced harsh digital technological disruption, which required high threshold of resilience. It cannot be the responsibility of men to provide solutions. Women are also capable to do so. Gender perspectives in AI must be advanced by women. Artificial intelligence, as we know, has transformed higher education to a greater extent. Automation, resources for research available at a click of a button. The burden of marking scripts of multiple questions is beyond us. During my time as a lecturer, many moons ago, before some of you were not even born, setting questions and also going through assignments, checking for plagiarism, we had to be able to read all available resources. Otherwise, we would not be able to make it. Yes, there are questions relating to academic integrity, accountability, difficulty in identifying AI-generated content, etc. But these challenges should not dwarf our efforts as women to participate in AI tools conceptualization, as well as discourse. Women are brokers of change. They need to be intentional in contributing to the evolution of artificial intelligence to improve inclusivity. Inclusion is about leaving no one behind. Active participation and taking into consideration everyone's views despite race or gender. As stated in the UNHCR report, I quote, "Inclusion is a fundamental pillar of resilient institutions. Therefore, there must be rigorous capacity building of women on AI, in-depth research, innovation, promotion of gender equitable AI landscape." Women at Unisa must dirty their hands, make concerted efforts to understand AI and its implications, innovate, and participate in transformation activities resulting from AI. For those who have been watching the AI tsunami and wishing it away, please spring into action, bounce back, demonstrate inclusivity, and contribute towards a resilient institution of higher learning. Women possess sturdy, enduring skills. We can respond to changing circumstances with ease. Your resilience as an individual is a building block to a resilient Unisa. The reality is that mostly women are not at the table when decisions about appropriate data sets of AI systems are made. As working women, especially researchers, academics and students, we must claim our space at the table, at the AI table. I need to mention lastly that although the situation appears to be dire, there are impressive AI efforts by South African women of changing the AI landscape. Names that comes to mind is Dr. Tabatso Moape, Dr. Jade Abuga, Dr. Jade Abbott, as well as Pilnomi Muilwa. The work that they are doing is quite exceptional. They promote diversity, inclusivity, and equity in the AI space. And then what next for us women to be able to play in this AI space? We need to work together to empower each other and try to, and by doing that, that is an opportunity to build collective resilience. Conduct collaborative research, stop working in our own smaller corners to navigate this complex and ever-evolving field of artificial intelligence. Considering participating in AI initiatives such as the African Women of School of AI and others, use Unisa knowledge exchange platforms to share expertise and experience on AI. Let us remain focused on women's historic commitments, contribute towards resilient institutions and inclusive society. Together, we will win. I thank you.
Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Without any waste of time, we are going to go straight to Dr. Mlomo Ndlovu. Over to you, Doc.
Dumelang. Let me declare first, I'm a stutterer, so I normally try and overcome it by speaking very fast. So I will try my best. Oh, okay. So let me apologize first by saying I received this heading very late, but I tried to, I'm not trying to beam doctor that gave me the information. So please, will you not punish him? Okay, remember, I'm coming from an environment that was very rigid with punishment. Yeah, okay. So if you have messed, especially when you mess top leadership, you know you will appear before the red carpet. Okay, all right. So for me then, I had to tweak my topic. Then my topic is, I had to tweak my topic or plug it. So in my plugging of my topic, I said, we cannot build resilient institutions if we do not understand the challenges that we face in relation to the use of cyberspace. We are operating in the cyberspace. All of you are just having your gadgets. I think even all the presenters that are here today, they are using their gadgets. But I'm going to share with you, based on my research that I did, the case studies on the sabotage that you can experience. So you can even say, I'm the only one here that is still carrying a paper, because I was thinking, what if the hacker sabotages you? Okay. Then you must have your plan B, because the hacker can sabotage you, okay? Yeah. So what I'll be sharing with you, it's based on a lived experience. Yeah, I was part of some of this experience, but some of the things were shared by the colleagues that I was working with. Okay, just imagine, how do you utilize your gadget? It's a password. You punch your password, and your password is written in a paper. You punch your password, but your password does not take in. What do you do? So you go to your help desk, you plug, you put your password works. And then what is happening? You don't know. At times you change your password, because there when you arrive at the help desk, they give you the network point, you put your network point. And then when you put your password there, it works. But when you go to the office again, you punch the very same password, it does not work. You are being sabotaged. Yeah, but you don't know. That's hacking. It's real, okay? Okay, at times your password, which is the first stage, it goes well. But what is the second phase? You plug your network point, okay? Then at times when you plug your network point, you are sabotaged. The network point has been deactivated. The ports have been deactivated. When you go to the neighbors, your colleagues in the corridor, you plug, and then it's activated. When you go to your office, it's activated. So which means the hacker is playing games with you. At times where you are having 3 network points. One is not working, you use the second one, and then the second one is working. But the frustration at times will just make you to say, let me go and work in another office. You go and work at another office. Now, you have managed to deal with your password, you have managed to deal with your network. But unfortunately, the built-in mouse is irritating you. What do? You use your mouse that you plugged in. The hacker says you are not going to use your mouse. When you plug your mouse is not working. And what do? You try every mouse that is in your drawer. Then while you even try to buy a new mouse, the one with a Bluetooth, the mouse does not help. What rescues you? An old mouse that even the words are not at the back of the mouse. And then when you plug it, voila, it works. What is happening? The hacker somewhere is sabotaging you. The hacker has cloned whatever that you are having. But let me go to the second level of sabotage. Okay. I think I hope the minutes are not sabotaging me. Okay. So, I'm trying to say, at times when you are having your gadget, at least maybe in your space, I don't know how you work with the gadgets. With us, once they buy you a gadget, when you leave, you have to leave that gadget with someone else behind. So there is a transfer of that gadget. So the gadget is supposed to be transferred to you. Then what does it mean? You are an administrator of the gadget. But as an administrator, which means you have got certain rights. Yeah, but your rights are limited. Certain applications, you have to request IT to assist you. Yeah. But as an administrator, you have got these landing pages for your Word, for your Excel, for everything. But you need to watch. There is a basic that IT would leave you after they have installed your computer. They say your computer is ready for working. But you as a user, you can add additional commands based on how you use these commands. Imagine you have set your computer, you come on the following day, there are so many commands, you are not even aware who's using these commands now. Because yesterday when I was working, my computer didn't have so many commands. You must know that someone is in your space, okay? And then also you must go and check your recent. You are on holiday, you have not touched your computer for the whole week. Then you go to the office Monday. When you check recent are starting from yesterday. You check these files, you have never opened these files. So I'm trying to say hacking is here. How many of you really go and check how many of you check who are administrators? Certain computers have got more than one administrator. If it's having more than one administrator, please tomorrow talk to the DVC that I've seen 5 administrators in my computer. So which means you are many. You are having a live hacker that is also using your computer. But let me warn you about some of the things that you should take care of when you are having your gadget. Yeah, okay, no. This one, I must just mention 3 also. For sabotaging, yeah. So at times you would request information, this information, for you to get the information that you are requesting from those that are providing you with the data that is extracted from the data bank, it should not be more than 10 megabytes for it to go through the email. You receive the information. But when you receive the information that is extracted from the data bank, you know you've got a responsibility to clean it before you use it. But where I was working, you had a responsibility to share this information with stakeholders like NPA, subs, courts, yeah, because they needed this information. Okay, at times they would say, we need the list of artists that are in your institution with bail. You have received this information. Remember, when you receive the file, they try and compress it, and then you would be able to receive this big file. But when you send, you are just having a subfolder that you are sending to them. But what would shock you, you've got a file of so many people, that about 55,000. Some people, they are appearing 3 or 4 times based on their cases. But you just need people that are having bail. Those people, they are less than 15% of this 55,000. But when you save the file is 85 megabytes. You ask yourself, where are these megabytes coming from? That's the saboteur. The hacker is here. So you try and use what do you call that thing of reducing your file? The zipping. You zip the file. After you have zipped, it reduces only by 1 megabyte. You say, even the zipping is not working. You say, that's sabotage. Okay? But this sabotage is not only sabotaging you, it's sabotaging even the recipient. Yeah. Okay. And then let me go then. I've finished the sabotage. Yeah. Fortunately, my papers are not sabotaging me. Yeah. So I'll go to that. The few tips that you should really have when you are operating in the cyberspace. A lot of us like to use free Wi-Fi. You must be very careful when you use that free Wi-Fi. The free Wi-Fi, it may be infected. People can steal your sensitive information in that free Wi-Fi. So be careful about freebies. And then the other one that I may also advise you to be careful about, I think, am I, okay, oh, I'm in yellow, okay. Okay. Let me just share this one so that when she leaves the red, I'm done. Okay, I learned about social engineering. There was a lecturer from Unisa that was talking on TV, on the cyber, on that International Day of Cyber. Then I heard this word, social engineering. I said, oh gosh, let me listen. But unfortunately, the professor talked as if the whole public knows social engineering. I tried to read to understand, because for me, it was a learning curve. So social engineering is the hacking that is common. All of us have been the victims of social engineering. Even yesterday in my computer, you all received, I think some of you have received an email about fines from NATIS that you are owing. Yeah, so I've received it. But what I normally do, I press forward. Once you press forward, you can see the address. The address is written as student somewhere, AC, what. Yeah, so there would be links. Don't click those links. By not clicking those links, you are saved. So I was saved by not clicking the link. And the number plate that was written, it was starting with a CA, but it was ending with a GP. I just saw that this is a phishing email. I cannot open it. And I saw in News 24 when I was reading, anyone that has opened that email, that link, it had the hackers that were stealing your sensitive and personal information. And they are harvesting your information. So I'm ending it there. Be careful.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Advocate Mubango Lukaimane, over to you.
Thank you. I, I,
Closer. Okay. I'm glad I went last because either I'm going to depress you or I am going to make you jump into action. I've listened to many things here, many dreams, especially also the keynote speaker. But in my world, all these things require resources. It may be human resources, financial resources, natural resources, but in most instances, unfortunately, opportunities boil down to money. And as we know, there are more women than males. You've already seen that projected here by the very first speaker in the population of South Africa. And as women, we face very unique financial and retirement hurdles. For starters, the percentage of people that can retire comfortably has stayed static at 7%. So I don't know how many of us are within that 7%. And women then retire on average with 21% less than men due to the gender wage gap that persists. Also career breaks for caregiving, both young and old. There's hardly any not many male relatives will volunteer to look after an aging relative, unfortunately. So it's things that we, as women, we take care of the young and we also take care of the old. And that comes with a very huge burden. Added to that, for our own selves, we live longer than men. So men make sure we earn less, but then we live longer than them. And then we need more. So what I want to say to all of us is that providing for oneself must not be by accident or a by the way thing. It must be something that you plan and you stay on it. You must have targeted saving strategies, maximize the tax tools that are there, and avoid early withdrawals from anything unless you are being faced with huge financial pressure. There are family pressures that face us women. Single parent households place immense pressure on women. And instead, as women, because of the lack of planning, we have become the very negative face of insurance fraud, matrimonial fraud. I act at the High Court now and then. The number of matters we must deal with where people come claiming they were married to somebody, that person is dead, and it's all about finances because what? We sat back and didn't plan for ourselves. We all hear of the father that left with his money, went, started a new family somewhere and left other people. And that is because also in a joint household, we failed to ensure as women that what if something happens? Am I taken care of? So financial freedom for women is a must. It frees you to determine your own fate, rather than be at the mercy of the proverbial hellish in-laws and everyone else that you can track from under a stone to blame for our fate. But get proper advice. There are things that impoverish women, whether as breadwinners, surviving spouses, life partners, or dependents from generation to generation. We do not look at ourselves as people worthy of saving for. We are always, as women, thinking about everyone else except ourselves. It's children, it's those ones, it's everything, but you've got to come to a point where you say, let me borrow. If there's only one of me, then how am I going to make sure that one of me is the best version of one of me? And that requires that you focus your energies on providing for yourself and making sure that you are taken care of. Most of the things that come to us as women in terms of also mental health and all that come from the inability to provide for ourselves. When resources are scarce, we are driven as women to levels of desperation that make us almost almost forgo our humanity, our maternal side, because now we are right at the bottom of the well, and we do not need to be there. And the best thing that's gonna save you is time. Time is your friend. The more time you have, the more whatever little you put aside compounds over time. That you can't say I'll start at 40, you have to start as young as possible. So that is my message to you. I'm sure there's something waving on this side.
Wow, a round of applause again, ladies and gentlemen. You know what, we have seen a change, seen a change, 4 minutes. So in other words, basinikeze ushintsho abasebenzisanga yonke imali abasebenzisanga sonke isikhathi, and thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, my managers told me that there's no Q&A, but seeing that kunoshintshi, thank you, Prof. Mbata. Seeing that kunoshintshi, can I give you those that are having burning questions? That question that you know exactly that if you don't ask it, you won't be able to sleep. Please let it be that question. Can I see Haibo? Whoever wants to ask a question? Ni right. Okay. I have this question, and it's not directed to anyone. In other words, anyone can respond. It's not directed to a specific panelist. What does an inclusive society look like in practice, and how can we ensure that no one is left behind? Anyone can start.
I'm just going to take a step. I think for me, it's what do we do in the spaces that we find ourselves in. Sometimes you find yourself in a space where it doesn't normally lend itself to empowering communities and that, but if you take time to look at the space that you are in, you will find that you have the ability not only to serve what is immediately in front of you, but to actually have a broader impact on society. So it's up to us in everything that we are doing to say, this is the nucleus of where I find myself in my immediate space to influence. But as I get to know more about what it is that I do, what is its purpose, in each and every occupation, it doesn't matter what it is, you will find that you are able to broaden impact and more to the community and also to living, sustainable things around us. I know that today things look very quick, but we all have to think about whatever it is that we are doing, is it sustainable?
Thank you very much. Yes, and can we emphasize, how can we ensure that no one is left behind? Yes.
This one. Active participation. Everyone has, like I said, get your hands dirty, be there, understand what is happening, and also be able to contribute to whatever is a project or whatever. My pet subject, as they know in School of Law, is this AI. I'm worried that you have professionals and even academics who are dismissive of AI when they are living with it on a daily basis. And I'm worried that what type of products will you produce if yourself as an academic who's supervising student, you think AI is something that is there? What type of products? Are we not putting ourselves in a space where degrees will be revoked because someone decided to zoom into this product and see whether is this worth it? And that would be to the embarrassment of the institution. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. For me, this question of how do we ensure that we don't leave anyone behind? But for me, I've got another question. I'm layering it with a question. In as much as you would want to ensure that no one is left behind, remember, there are people that do not want to participate in anything. So are you leaving those people behind, or are those people making a choice? Yeah, I think we should learn not to take responsibility for people who decide to be bystanders. In any situation, there are people that are bystanders. There are people that are just watching for things to collapse, and then they will say something. So for me, you may have a very good strategy and target several groups that you want to put them in. And I like what she is saying about AI. You can even simplify some of the things in terms of AI. I'll make an example. I've written a book. I must first thank Unisa, the timing of me doing my PhD. It was just nearer my retirement. So I learned a lot of skills of research. So it helped me to write 2 books. One of the books I've donated it to the Department of Public Administration and Management because I'm contributing to the field. Yeah. So in my book, I've also used AI. So I've created podcast for people where you can just listen to the podcast. If you want to listen, to learn more about a lot of things like the cybersecurity and cyberbullying that I was talking about, there are 2 podcasts on that. If you want to learn about conflict of interest, you can drive your car and listen to the podcast. I've donated the book also to the library through the Department of Public Administration and Management. So for me, I've seen that as the world is growing, people have got choices. Some people just want to sit and enjoy social media and learn about the gossips on social media. As such, they have loaded everything. So even if you want to rove those people in some of the things, but they do have a choice on what they want to do with their lives. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause to this, our beautiful, dynamic discussants. We are very grateful. Program Director, I ensured ukuthi ushintshe asikubuyiseli wona. So, on that note, we are going to request Professor Farisani for tokens of appreciation. Prof. Farisani. Let's clap hands for Prof. It's wet here, please don't.
Good evening. Okay, it looks like I need it. Okay, good evening. We are just going to give a few tokens of appreciation. I'd like to greet our Vice Chancellor and Principal, Professor Puleng Lenkabula, and our VPs. Okay, and I acknowledge both our VPs who are here with us and all other members of management who are here with us. I see we've also got a number of executive deans here with us. We acknowledge all of you and we appreciate your presence here. I'm going to ask our Vice Chancellor to come to the front. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Bathong ke kgopela hore re fe our Mayor, Vice Chancellor and Principal a round of applause. As you can see, she is not 100%, not feeling too well, but in spite of that, she said, I'm going to be here. And she graced this occasion. We really appreciate you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Our keynote address came from Advocate Tsatsi. Please come to the front. All right, we're almost done. We're almost done. We're now giving gifts to our vice principals. Oh, okay, we're starting with the discussants. My apologies. Okay, will you please come? Okay, we'll start with you, Advocate. Okay. Dr. Musheu, it's fine. Thank you very much. Okay. Dr. Vui Mlomondlovu. Oh, okay. And Advocate Lukai Mane. We've been asked to say, that's into it.
Yeah. Program Director, over to you. A round of applause for us, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Dr. Malele. Ladies and gentlemen, we're looking at the time and we're trying to figure out how to maneuver things. So we're going to ask for your cooperation as well. Let's work together to make this work. We still have a number of things on our program. It's already almost 9 o'clock, and I know that it's way past many of our dinner times. So what we are going to do, and as I said, I'm going to be asking for us to work together on this, please. We're going to pause for a bit so that we can go and dish up as quickly as humanly possible. And then we come back to our seats, settle down, enjoy our dinner while we continue with the program. Okay. So I'm going to ask that you'll see on the table you have your plates there. So as you go and queue, please carry your plate with you. I'm going to ask that we invite these 2 tables first, these 3 tables first, after which then we can go and dish up, ladies and gentlemen. We've got 2 serving stations, so that should assist us to expedite things as well. And as we do so, I'm going to ask Kgorong Mailula, who is going to be entertaining us with her musical talent tonight, to please get ready to come to the front. program as we eat. So I'm going to ask for your attention, please. It is a school night. We would love to go home before midnight. It's up to us whether that is possible or not. We are now moving into the next item on our program. Exciting. The moment where we celebrate the women who have excelled in the various categories, the women who have shown leadership, who have shown servantship, the women who have given of themselves. We are now going to be moving over to the Unisa Women Awards Ceremony 2026. And I would like to invite Professor K.R. Mbata, who is the chairperson of Unisa's forum, to come and lead this session for us. Please, let's give her a round of applause.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And because Advocate Tsatsi said a lot about why the awardees are getting the awards today, this evening, hence I am not going to elaborate more on that. And also due to time is against us. We have to finish as soon as possible. I know that some of us came here before 8 o'clock.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, and our colleagues there who are still dishing, let's please do so in silence, please. This is a very important moment. We are acknowledging and celebrating people who have really gone above and beyond. So let's please respect this moment. We can continue eating, but please let us pause with our conversations. Thank you.
As Prof has indicated, the main thing now is to celebrate the ladies who have excelled, who didn't go according to their job descriptions, who went beyond and excelled in different categories. And the first category that I have here with me is the customer service category. And I understand that some of the winners, they are not here because the event is in the evening and the transport is a challenge to some of them. The first one that I will call is Stefina Mukhadi Khoitane. Is she here? Okay. The next one is Joyce Nomiselo Kolweni. Please understand. No, they will stand here, we'll take one photo at once, yeah. The third one is Oma Madibela. Is she here? Lillian Mapala Makafula. Katazile Susan Mahato. Where? Oh. Where? How? Please, please don't joke. I'm working here. This is not time for jokes. And then the next one is Mili Masingi. I know I have two Masingis here, but the first one here is Mili Masingi. The next one, Gladys Jeanette Masuku. Kulani Valencia Masunga. Tinchwalo Mulash Matebula. Daisy Giba. Miriam Lita Makau, Jeanette Chengezeni Nevodi, apologies, Jeanette Chengendezi Nevodo, Zandile Christine Njaba, Ramatimecha Nyamana, Florence Mukhadi Sikhole. And then I have different categories now. Under the category transformative leadership, I have Ubakeng Mutamai. I saw her. Ubakeng Mutamai. Sorry. Talane Gertrude Libilo. The category is community service. Dr. Gloria Lidwaba. The category is community service. The next one, I saw her given Lebuchang Marota under the community service category. The next one is Mpho Relure Masingi. Okay, this one is not here. And I know this one is significant, the category is significant achievements, and it's for Johanna Dube. The daughter was here, maybe she has left. Okay, I think the daughter has left. The next one is Professor Kumutso Simenya. But the last one Session is done. Chair, Program Director, over to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us please give a round of applause for all our winners tonight. Basebenzile. Basebenzile abafazi. We are almost at the end of our proceedings for tonight. We did it. And to offer us the vote of thanks, I would like to invite Professor D.M. Farisani, the treasurer of the Unisa Women's Forum. Professor Farisani, I don't see her though. Oh, there she is. Prof. Farisani, let's please give her a round of applause.
Good evening. Okay, can you see me? It's fine. I think you've seen me already anyway. Good evening. I'm glad I'm not standing between you and supper. Thank you. Okay, that's better. Ladies and gents, we have come to the close of a very wonderful evening that we had tonight. We started off with Dr. James, who said we must ask, we must stand, we must look. Dr. James, is she still here? Thank you very much, Dr. James. You really got us to reflect. And yeah, if I say more, I'll spoil it. So we really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Our Principal and Vice Chancellor, in her absence at the moment, I echo what the program director said earlier on, that what she said was brief, but it was indeed very, very powerful. And we really appreciate that she was here with us in spite of not feeling well. So it says a lot about a person when they say, I'm coming no matter what. So we really appreciate her presence. Mena Kene Mkingi, you took us on a journey back to August 1956, all the way to where we are now, being proud to lead in Unisa. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. Our keynote speaker was introduced eloquently by Mema Tlave. We appreciate it, Mema Tlave. Thank you so much. And our keynote address given by Advocate Tsatsi. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. You really said a mouthful. You said quite a lot of things. And there was a theme, though, that kept on echoing right from the beginning to the end. And that is that we are stronger and strongest when we work together. Thank you. We then had our panelists, Memalele, thank you for a job well done. We appreciate how you facilitated. Our panelists, Dr. Mlomo Ndlovu, who spoke on cyberspace, hacking, and I think will be wiser, especially with that free Wi-Fi. Dr. Mushewu spoke on artificial intelligence, and again, that theme of us working together to empower each other. And Advocate Lukaimane spoke about financial resources. It was quite sad to hear that only 7% retire comfortably. And it makes it even worse when it comes to women, because then 21% less when it comes to women. So she said, time is our friend. Whatever little that we can put, let us put it aside. We had the awards taking place. Just so that you understand, we normally have the Feroza Memorial Lecture during the day, but this year, being a special year where we are commemorating the 70th year of the Women's March, we combined two events in one day so that we do all of that together. And unfortunately, quite a number of our mothers were not here. We celebrate them nevertheless. We congratulate them. You don't just get an award. You don't just get an award. It is because of the value that you bring to the institution. So I ask that we give them a round of applause once more. Ladies and gentlemen, this evening wouldn't have been such a wonderful evening had you not pitched for the event. You showed up. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for having come to celebrate women, to celebrate the legacies that were mentioned, and to remember that we have been given the baton, and it is now up to us to move forward. As you go home tonight, travel safely. Those of you who have joined us online, thank you for your presence as well. We appreciate you. And let us remember what we learned tonight. There are quite a number of valuable lessons that we picked up from all our speakers. So let us ask, let us look, Let us remember, let us reflect on what we have learned, and let us move forward. That baton is for us to move it forward. I thank you. And last but not least, I actually wrote it down. I was going to thank her first. Our program director, she really steered it very, very well. We really appreciate. Thank you so much, Professor Khalo, and we appreciate your availability whenever we need you to assist. Thank you.
And thank you, Prof. Farisani. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our beautiful evening. Please note that there is still dessert served. There's bottles of something nice on your tables. I know it's a school night, but we can take a moment or two to network, get to know each other, look at possible ways we could collaborate, after which I wish all of you safe journeys and mercies as you go back home. It has been an absolute pleasure. On behalf of myself and my co-pilots, Ms. Eugidia Jose and Ms. Eula Dunstone, from the three of us, thank you, have a good night.